Guys, welcome to our Monday Mastermind this morning. Actually, this afternoon. We are Grow Global, and we have our mastermind meeting every Monday at noon, and we love to talk about topics that are relevant to real estate agent today. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get started on that, if you like what you see, go to whygrowglobal.com. And we have some great information there about the market and about our past meetings and information and connections and everything. So a lot of great resources at whygrowglobal.com. But I thought that today we would do something a little different, where we're gonna Tony, Kim, and I are just gonna talk about the market and what's going on with all these companies merging, and why are they merging, and what's going on. A lot of people were caught off guard with a lot of things that have been happening lately. I've been seeing a lot of things in the industry changing a lot, especially with how homes are being marketed, sold. The market changes, and how some markets are hot and some are not. But a lot of it is a lot of the industry side has been changing from the broker owner part, or the big brokerages or the small brokerages, and we're going to talk about that today and go over, how we feel, because Tony and I have been in the brokerage side for quite a while. So we bring a different perspective on this, and when the announcement came about Remax and Real, I had a ton of people calling me and talking about, hey, what do you think? Where's this thing going and all that? So, and it actually took a minute for me to kind of digest everything and kind of see the motivations behind it. And Tony and I had some conversations on it. So we I think we're in agreement on where things we think might go, but it's going to be interesting to see. All of it is going to be eventually good for the industry as a whole, because we've needed this shakeup for a long time. I know I was in Remax for 20 years, and they were a dinosaur back then in how they operated. They did not help the broker owners much at all. Tony, I don't know if you were on a different plan than me, but they didn't help me much at all. I was on my own to do my stuff. And so I saw that years ago, had many talks with Remax saying, you got to change this. The broker owners are out here hurting, and they couldn't do anything in their structure because they were so dialed into the old school markets, So Tony, have you seen the same thing?
Yeah, Rob, when I made the change to EXP, we met that time, and the thing that was going on at the particular time, we had a program called Lead Street. And you might remember that the agents had Lead Street. It was kind of like they tried to make it, they tried to sell it as a Remax version of a CRM. And then one day I saw a thing where you could make a newsletter in Lead Street, and I wanted to create this newsletter to send out to my sphere, and I couldn't make it work. I just couldn't make it work. So finally I went in, I had to go and meet with the broker, and I went over to see my broker. This was after, we had already, combined our offices into another Remax brokerage. I went in to see the broker, great guy. And I just said, I want the newsletter that's in, Lead Street. And he says, well, I don't know how it works. I said, okay, so what do we need to do to make it work? And he says, well, let's call a regional office. I said, okay, so let's call a regional office. We call a regional office. And they didn't know how it worked. Technology department in Georgia did not know how it worked. They said, let's call international out of Denver, Colorado. And I said, okay, I just want this newsletter is all I want. So they contact, and it took about a week to do this. And they contact international. I said, all I want is a newsletter that's in Lead Street that you guys have been advertising I can use. And they said, well, that's a homes.com product. I said, really? I said, okay, so what do I do? And he says, contact homes.com. So I contact homes.com, and they said, are you in Georgia? And I said, yeah. And he goes, man, I'm not part of Remax, but I hate to tell you this, but you're being treated like a redheaded stepchild. I'll never forget him saying that. You're being treated like a redheaded stepchild. I said, why is that? And he goes, because the newsletter feature is not available to Georgia agents. only available to those that are owned by Dave Lineker. Okay.
Yeah.
And, we were owned by a different group, Georgia
Yep.
was. And right that minute, I was so mad. I was fuming. And about an hour later, Rob calls me up and he goes, "Hey, I gotta show you something that's really on fire." The timing could not have been better because I was thinking I was a redheaded stepchild. And then he
Right.
showed me EXP World, which first it just kind of blew me away. I thought, what in the world? But the biggest thing that he did that day, Rob, he said, "Hey, let me introduce you to the broker staff." We went into EXP World. 2 minutes later, I was talking to the technology department at EXP in EXP World and got my question answered, where I had been waiting almost a month to find out that product was not available to me as a REMAX agent. So nothing's changed. Back then, it was a dinosaur then. That's part of the reason that I left, because I've always been a little bit on the cutting edge, bleeding edge, really, in
Yep. Yep.
technology. And I just wanted what they were telling us we could have. And
Yeah.
they sent it to the Georgia agents and pushed that newsletter to the Georgia agents, but we were not part of the program. Yeah. So it's always
Yeah.
been like that.
Well, that right there is the reason why the old legacy real estate models are dying. They're struggling. And when I say legacy models, I'm talking about Remax and Coldwell Banker and Century 21 and those type of companies. ERA, been around for a long time, but they're built off of an old model, right? A franchise model, a brick and mortar model, a broker owner model, that each office independently owned and operated model, right? And so one of the things that changed the game in the industry as a whole, and this is going to lead up to what we're talking about today, is EXP came to market and they changed up how everything is done. And then a lot of copycats came out that started doing the same thing. Well, guess what? In the last 5 years, all the new models have copied us, have copied EXP. So that's where the whole industry is going as a whole, right? They're going to that type of scenario, whether it's EXP or Real or whatever. There's a bunch of them out there, right? Nobody's copying Remax or Coldwell Banker or Century 21 or ERA. Nobody. And so these legacy companies, and I'm including Keller Williams as a legacy company now. They were revolutionary back in the day when they came out because they were a new, fresh model against Remax. But now they are in the same boat as Remax because they have the brick and mortar models, the franchises, the regional owners, and all that kind of thing. And so all these different companies, the Keller Williams and the Remax and the Coldwell Bankers, they had to change. And so what we've seen is many of them losing money. This is where all this has started. Coldwell Banker, Century 21, ERA, Better Homes and Gardens, Anywhere brand, they were losing money like crazy. They had 2 or 3 billion in debt. I lost count at the last number. And so something was going to have to happen. Then you look at Remax. They were, 400 million in debt roughly? And they were losing money for the last 7-ish years. And they changed CEOs trying to get it. Nothing was working because they were on an old legacy model. So all these companies were headed toward a train wreck. So something had to happen. So then we had the different types of collaboration and mergers that happened. One of the first was Keller Williams. Gary Keller always owned Keller Williams, 100% roughly, right? He was the stockholder. Well, he sold majority share to a Wall Street hedge fund. Well, when you sell a majority share of your company, who's making the ultimate decisions in the company now? The majority shareholder. So now you have Wall Street making decisions for Keller Williams. Now, what does Wall Street want? They want profits, right? They want money, and they will do whatever it takes to get it, right? They will cut, they will scrimp, they will change the game to make sure that the money is put in for a good return. Okay. Then you have the merger with Compass and Anywhere. We knew they were going to have to merge with somebody because they were not going to last long. So that started to happen. Well, Compass, okay, I can see it because they have offices. They're a brick and mortar company, right? Now they're a nationwide brick and mortar company, so they took the franchise piece out. So that kind of made sense that could work. Now you got corporate-owned stores that are roll up, and then you've got the franchises that are going to have to make a decision at some point as their franchise agreement ends, that kind of thing. But we're seeing a lot of broker owners in those franchises that are not happy with the merger. So we're going to see shakeups. In any type of merger, you're going to see shakeups. That's just the way it goes. And they're going to go somewhere. They're going to open their own independent company. They're going to merge in with other companies. We've had a lot of people call EXP to merge with us. There's a lot of things going on. It's just a lot of shakeup. Then we had Real and Remax. Now, to me, this did not look like the right fit because, EXP can't confirm or deny this because they're a corporately traded company, but they looked at other companies out there and said, this does not fit for our version of where we want to go. There's no reason to take on this amount of debt for a company's model that doesn't fit, right? Because they're going in a certain direction. So Real taking on Remax doesn't make much sense other than Real needs the name recognition. They don't have much. They need the name recognition, right? And so they're buying name recognition. So there's going to be a lot of the initial word on the street to calm everybody down, because here's what happens in mergers, acquisitions, purchases, things like that. And I remember this back in my day when a Remax office was sold or a Coldwell Banker office was sold, you had a lot of, people, vultures at the door, right? So you put out all this news stuff to kind of calm things down. The calming news came out with Real is, hey, we're going to operate Real over here in our model, and Remax is going to operate their model. Real owns a majority share of Remax now, but we're going to let them operate their own thing. There's no way that's going to work long term. It's not going to mix. Go ahead.
The other thing about this, Rob, is that these copycat companies you're talking about, and there's three primary copycats of EXP, they have created so much debt already, And the good thing about EXP is we're debt free, Yeah. We have no brick and mortar to deal with, And the other thing, if I were a Remax broker today, I would be concerned that my agents would go to Real, okay? Because if you look at some of these conversations, there's people out there saying, cut your costs, Remax agents, come over to us. And if they go to the inside the family, that broker owner is stuck with the overhead with no income in. And I'd be real concerned if I was a broker owner of that today. And, there's 8,500 of them out there. The thing you got to be careful about, though, is if you go talk to a broker owner, you can't talk to them really until they're within 6 months of renewal of their franchise.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. But if I were a broker owner, I'd be like, hopefully my agents won't hear all the rumblings that are going on inside our new company, because if I lose them, I can't pay my bills. I can't pay my debt. Yeah.
I think you're right on the money on that, because that's one thing that I saw too, is that the Real agents are going to be fine. That doesn't change for them. They get to kind of piggyback a little bit off the name recognition. The Remax agents are independent contractors. They can go anywhere and do anything they want. They can change to the Real program. They can stay with Remax. They can come to companies like us. They can do anything they want, right? But the broker owners, the ones that sign the franchise agreement, the ones that sign the leases for the buildings, the ones that has the payroll to make and the lights and all that, they're the ones that are going to get hurt in this in the long term. and nobody's accounting for that. Because think about it, you have your real and you have your Remax, and a Remax team goes, hey, wait a minute, I can go over to the real plan and I can save a lot of money. Well, that broker owner loses that money because, the agent and the team can save a lot of money, but the broker loses it. And then the broker, I don't know how they're going to work this, but now this person is sponsored by somebody else. Can the Remax broker sponsor somebody if they're not in real? I don't know. I don't know how that's going to play out. So unless they convert their whole office over, can they do that and and take money off the agents and that doesn't seem to fit the models too well. So that's something that's going to happen. So Tony, you had your hand up. Let's go to Tony Justo.
Well, I was thinking about similar things and you kind of touched on it because I was like, what happens with the broker owner? Can they poach from real? And most agents, if they're on real, are they going to really want to go back over and have to pay potentially higher with Remax? And it just doesn't seem very logically. There's no set form out there, and I know I've been talking to quite a few different agents, and they're asking me my opinions and thoughts, and I'm like, I'm not with Remax. I chose not to go with Remax because, when I first got in the industry, I was just like, their numbers didn't make sense for me, but now I get people asking me all the time, like, what do you think about this company or that company? And I'm like, well, they didn't work for me. And, that's why I didn't go with them. So it's kind of one of those where will the broker owners end up switching over from, having that brick and mortar stuff to a cloud-based at some point as well. That's, another thing that as an agent, and this is more so old school agents who are just so accustomed to this is the way things go, and they're very rigid and set in their patterns. Are they going to like that? And, what's going to happen to them, because they could look at jumping ship just as well, because this doesn't fit into the box that I learned how to do everything.
The other thing about this, I think about the confusion that this has caused, okay? Because Remax agents have always been taught virtual offices are a low-end type of company. Because we got all this class, we got this office, I've got my own personal office, I'm an executive in this office. So they look at virtual companies like real, and there's a negative side of that right off the bat. Then what's happening is you've got Remax agents who may try to recruit a real agent into a Remax office, to give them that, But then the question I have is there's 145,000 Remax agents, okay? And now you've got real Remax group, okay? So you got all these real agents, and you got all these Remax agents. Okay, there's a revenue share model because they copied EXP. There's a revenue share model inside real, okay? Is Remax going to cut out their revenue and give it to the agents? No, because the broker owner has to have that revenue to pay those bills. Then the other side of this is can a real agent recruit a Remax agent if they're in the same company? Okay, which means there's 144,000 people that real can't recruit and get a revenue share because they're already in the same company. I'm wondering how that's being answered. I'd love to be a fly on the wall and see how they're explaining all this, which leaves it wide open for EXP because now you got real agents, 33,000 of them, and 144,000 Remax agents with a lot of confusion going on and a lot of debt they're trying to figure out and how to keep the broker owners happy. A lot of things happening there. Yeah.
And many of these brokers, if like when Rob and I and all of us running Remax, if a brokerage has less than 50 agents, they are not profitable. We know that by fact because we had 15 of them and some of them we had to consolidate. So if not less than 50 agents, they're not profitable. And now Hitwood, there's no more corporate Remax anymore. I mean, that was, now it's just going down. So it's just a matter of time. All these legacy company like Remax and now they're merging, they're gonna lose their identity within 6 months to a year because it's gonna something gonna shift. They're gonna move.
The other thing you got that's happened over the past few years in Remax offices is there have been these long-term broker owners that own the building. They own the building. They lease it to the new Remax broker owner. Okay. So they sell the company to the new Remax broker owner. Now that guy that owns the building is out there thinking, man, if the people I sold to can't pay their bills because they lose agents to Real, how am I going to get my rent? You see,
That's
you
right.
got that side of it happening.
That was their retirement plan, right?
It was.
That's the only way they make money. You know what I mean? Because that's the other way. They try to scare the agent from leaving legacy, like, oh, Remax balloon, all these things. But we've been talking to them about this over the past almost 8-9 years. It's not gonna last. That's why when we sold our brokerages way back in the day, about 12 years ago, Rob, 12, 13 years ago.
13 years ago. Yeah. 13.
Oh my God. And then that broker, I mean, make it big, but then she couldn't even sell it 3 years later, Tony. That's crazy.
Well,
And that person finally joined us at EXP.
Yeah, they're with EXP now.
He's not with EXP. Wow. You get what I'm saying? She was the one who bought our company. So Carrie Zier was the person that bought Remax, and now she is the luxury division, the president, the VP of that, and that's who we sold it. So
that's a good point, Kim, because you used to be able to sell a real estate office. You used to be able to sell it. You can't sell a real estate office anymore. I mean, you can transfer it to your top team or something. I see that all the time, but you're just transferring the debt to them. There's no value in individual offices. I mean, groups of offices, okay, I can see, but a big money person comes in, they're buying the income stream from the agents. That's all that's valuable is the income stream from the agents, provided you can keep them. Right, Tony?
Yep. So here's where we are right now, okay? The announcement was made. If you look at anything that especially Real, if you look at anything those agents are putting out, everything is roses. Everything's wonderful. Okay. Now you're not hearing a lot from Remax. You're hearing a few that are saying, "Hey, I'm long-term friends with Dave Liniger, so I'm going to stay at Remax." Okay. But once we see this pendulum swing and everybody's over the honeymoon, reality is going to set in. And there's some reality that's already being posted out there where people are actually analyzing where the debt structure is, where the income structure is, what's happening to the broker owners, what's happening to the agents, and saying, do I want to be part of this low, quote, low end thing that they've always talked about? So there's going to be a lot of honeymoon talk for a while, but at the same time, the reality of what is really real is going to come out. Okay. And Rob and I have been looking at these numbers here lately, and this thing just does not make sense.
It doesn't. Well, and one thing that caught my eye is Remax touts, hey, we have the highest production per agent number, right? Because we only do experienced agents. We only do top producers. We have the highest agent. Well, Real has one of the lowest. And so how's that going to merge together, right? So
and then
there's a lot going on.
Is their stock at Real is plummeted. It's down to, right around $2.20 a share today. Okay. Yeah. It's plummeted since this thing started. And the word out there is, it always plummets when when a company does this. Well, they're down to the level right now where Wall Street may come along and say, you're getting so low, you can't be traded,
Delisted. That's right.
Can't be listed.
So here's another question out there in the industry. We're talking about things going on in the industry. Berkshire Hathaway. Where's that going next? They're the one of the last legacy type models, brick and mortar. They're owned by Warren Buffett, right? So where is that going to go in the future? We don't know, right? But what we do see is the trend is going toward the virtual real estate models, the flexibility, the control. So one of the things that's going to make determine companies' futures is how flexible are you, how you can make decisions, how you can shift in the marketplace. And so debt is going to be a big overhead for that, because if you have Wall Street controlling you because they see they put all this money into your company, now they give you a long leash in the beginning because they want to see what you can do, but at some point they yank that leash and they say, okay, we gave you this money for this amount of time, we want a return now, right? This happened to Compass back in the day. SoftBank was just doling out buckets of money to Compass and said, go grow, go grow, go grow. And they were buying agents, buying offices, buying market share. And then SoftBank jerked back on the leash and said, all right, now it's time to perform. Yeah. So they could no longer just nilly-willy throw that money out there anyway. They had to be more strategic, right? And so they did have to they had to go and make a pitch to their finance people, say, hey, if we buy anywhere, we need, funds to do it. And they were able to make the pitch that, hey, this is how we're going to make it work. So again, debt, heavy debt in these companies going forward. But that's what brought down Anywhere is debt. That's what brought down Remax is debt. So the companies that are going to be lean and profitable going forward are the ones that are going to be really raking in the market share as the long term rolls out.
Yep, the crazy day we live in, but I'm so glad that we chose EXP when we did, and for it to be a debt-free company like this, and to keep the agents out front. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So here's what I see in the industry as a whole. We're gonna be seeing a lot of movement in companies, of course, and agents moving around to different companies for different reasons, because different companies provide different things. But what I'm gonna say is people who have the listings, who have the inventory going forward, are going to be the ones that are going to have more control of the business with these exclusive listing markets out there, with the way companies are consolidating how they market their listings out there, like EXP just talked about opening up our inventory to Google before it hits certain places, depending on the MLS and all that kind of stuff. That was really a game changer. But we're going to see that be more and more of a focus as we're going forward, is control. I know a lot of companies are trying to and that's one reason why these companies are buying up these. They're buying up market share. And what does that mean? Listings, right? So, but the question is, can they keep the listings? Are the top listers going to stay, or are they move to other companies or start their own? We're probably going to see a lot of people try to start their own as well. But many are going to join companies like EXP or some of these others, because they're going to be able to see, hey, wait a minute, I don't have to pay all the overhead, but I get all the services, that kind of thing. So we're going to see a lot. But going forward, if you can focus on getting the listings, that's going to be huge in market share going forward for your business. I was talking to an agent today about that. They're going, hey, what do I need to focus on? And I'm going, because right now they're a buyer's agent. They just focus on getting buyers. I'm going, that's great and you're doing great, but you need to add listings to it. You need to add going after the sellers, because that's going to up your market share. How do you see that, Tony? What's your take on that?
Well, the ones that, have the listings control the market. It's really what it comes down to.
By far. Yep.
And the other side of this is to build a reputation where your sellers treat other buyer agents fairly. Okay. If you build a reputation where an agent comes to show your property and they know that they're going to be treated fairly, you're going to get more showings. But the number
Mm-hmm.
one foundational thing is work on getting the listings.
Mm-hmm.
Find the niches to get the listings. Whether it be senior adults, there's a lot of people out there right now. They're looking to downsize. They're making some changes in their families, or, looking for those that are moving up in an industry, looking for the listings. That's what it's all about right now. Yeah.
There used to be a course, I can't remember who taught it, that talked about death, divorce, disease. What was that, Tony? You remember that? The five
Oh
D's
yeah.
or whatever.
There's like eight D's is what it
Yeah,
amounts
8D.
to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see if I see
So,
it while we're talking. Yeah.
yeah.
'Cause
So
I was looking at that.
those courses are valuable because it shows you where to interact to run into the people that have needs for their life. Like if they get a divorce, they usually got to sell the house. If they have a spouse die or a family member die or whatever, usually they got to sell the house. Or they have assets. Maybe were invested in real estate and someone passes away. So different things happen. If they get sick, sometimes they can't handle their home. They have to sell it for the money for the medical bills. So there's a lot of different things that you can put yourself in the right spot to be able to identify these listings that come up. On top of that, just being in your sphere and talking about what their plans are, because you never know when they are moved, when they have to have a move, or for different reasons, right? So being around or up, moving up when they have more children, or their family gets bigger, or they need to move their parents into the house. I seem to see that a lot now. They're moving their parents in. They need a bigger house for that. So being aware of different life changes that happens.
So Rob, I've got them right here.
Okay,
So
good.
there's 8 things. Okay. Death, of course, divorce, debt, when they're in a financial strain, a job loss, or,
Forgot that.
overextended.
Yeah.
Yeah. Diapers. Okay. Growing family. Yeah. Growing family, pregnancy, new children,
Diapers.
a diploma, graduation, or a
Uh-huh.
major, educational change. Um,
Empty
Diamonds.
nester, right?
Yeah. Diamonds, when there's engagements or marriages or serious relationship milestones. Downsizing, that's the empty nester, okay?
Yeah.
Retirement, okay? And then deployment or a job transfer, when orders come through, where I'm going to be, moving to a different area and I'm taking a different job. So you have 8 things there: death, divorce, debt, diapers, diploma, diamonds, downsizing, yeah, all the way through.
Yeah.
So they're all there.
No,
And there's all different ways of finding people that want to sell real estate.
I think we can make a Monday Mastermind just out of this topic alone and go through
Yeah.
each one of those and where to find those.
Yep. You're right. Yep. Yeah. And a lot of these things are things that you can do without paying another company to do it for you. I mean,
That's right.
they're just simple things to understand how to find, where these types of leads are. Yeah. It's
Many people
amazing what
looking at right. If
amazing
people
what
looking at
ChatGPT
the sorry.
Yeah, it's amazing what ChatGPT will give you if you just ask it,
Right. I mean, look at the market right now, guys. How, when we first started out EXP, right? Everybody like, oh my God, this, that, and making fun of us. And then COVID hit, right? And then we become like somebody. And now with this last thing right here with Remax going to real, we always knew. So most people don't realize because of the ego, is that if you really look at a business model, I'm telling you, we look at all of them. Currently, LPT, Real, Epic, all this little company. I mean, why do you want to chase a little guy when you have like a giant? Why would you want to bank on those little baby when you have a company like EXP and I mean our group like Go Global right now to be able to support your scale. Scaling is the next phase that most agents don't even think about. They try to sell a home, one home, two home, three homes. Just they don't know how to scale and build a brokerage within a brokerage. Like what we've been doing. And we've been teaching
Yeah.
people this all the time. But hey, Andy, he's raising his hand, so see that he can unmute and start talking.
No, I hit it again by accident. Sorry.
No, you didn't.
Come on,
Oh,
Andy.
you like Andy. Andy is full of wisdom too. Come on, Andy. Don't hold out on us. You have your 2 cents on it. Share with us. What are your thoughts on how did you take it, by the way? How did you take it when you heard the news? What was your first thought?
Well, I thought it was kind of unexpected,
Comical?
and I'm waiting for Leo to come out and put his comments out there on this because I'm sure he's got something good to say about it.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
You'll find that Leo, he waits until the cloud blows over. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're in that honeymoon stage right now. And then
Yes.
all of a sudden he's going to come in and go, okay, this is what's really happening here.
That's exactly. Yep. I see the same thing.
That's Leo's
Yep.
move. That's Leo's move. And
Yep.
because number one, he's our CEO. Number two, because we're a publicly traded company, our founder said, our CEO, words, and he's very mindful because he saw this thing coming miles ago. I mean, like years ago. He already seen Remax. And then think about it. It's just a matter of time. When we saw Century 21, Core Banker, well, that already happened, right? Within like last year. So it's this thing is happening. It's very expected because anybody that try to build, how many people you talk to, Tony, that still want to go and open a brokerage right now? And I'm like, go, I'll be your cheerleader from a distance. I'm gonna give you 2 years or maybe 6 months. I'll call you right back, because people are still excited about that brand. And I'm like, do you think you could compete with our brand new agent? Brand new, you are a broker, you opening your brokerage, right? And all this brick and mortar you put up, this room office that you are leasing, could you compare that to our brand new agent? We got a brand new agent, joined us, and he was like, oh my God, I interview all the companies, and they have not even a fraction of what we have here, at EXP. And he was shocked that not more people already seeing him like, you brand new, you're excited, but it's just a matter of time that EXP is that company that to be part of, so you can scale.
Well, the one theme we see is other companies are trying to be virtual like us. That's the whole industry is going toward that way. Hey, Tony, you have your hand up.
Yeah, Kim, you forgot the one thing that the brick and mortar brokerages can offer that no one can't. They can offer you floor time and, have to pay to sit at a desk and hopefully somebody will come in and wait for you. That's why you have the brick and mortar.
I remember floor plan back in the day, don't you, Tony?
Yeah. Well,
I'm so excited, Tony.
I would stay at the office all day long in case an agent came in for 15 minutes. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Because I didn't want them to get mad if I, as a broker owner, if I were not, there,
Yeah.
And I used to tell my agents, I'd say, you need to get out of the office. You don't need to stay inside this building. No one in this building is going to buy real estate from you. Okay.
That's right.
You've got to get out to where people are. And staying inside these buildings is not the answer for success.
That's right. Got to get out.
Gotta get out.
I was like you, Tony. I was in the office. I had when the door was open, they knew that I was there, right? They could see in the window. If it was closed, they could see me in there, right? So I did not want them to have to come by and not have me there. So I remember those days.
Oh yeah. You decided to play golf one day and you felt so guilty that somebody would go by the office and you weren't there.
That's right. That's right.
But
it's a different world,
and DXP is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think COVID helped put steroids on that, because I remember before COVID hit, there was a lot of people brick and mortar virtual, right? After COVID, I didn't hear that at all because all the brick and mortar companies were trying to do virtual because they were shut down during COVID. They couldn't do anything. So I think that helped put gas on the flame for this direction.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
Yep.
So I mean,
Yeah,
what my two cents for this is that I encourage every agent to stop being really broker loyal, like brokerage loyal. That's one of the things that I always tell people. I'm like, you loyal to your family, you loyal to God up there, number one, and then you loyal to your to your family, with your spouses, and then you loyal to your children. But when it comes down to a brokerage, I mean, not loyal to the broker itself. I mean, if BXP didn't have what it is serving all of us, you know what I mean? Hey, we open to go. It's no big deal. It's just that they just every day they get more and more, so that, we ask them, that's number one, is stop being the broker loyal. That's the key. Number two is to build
Well,
their own brand. Rob been talking
yeah.
about building own brand, and Rob been pushing building own brand. And I started real estate 29 years ago when I was like nobody. I was like brand new in and did a lot of transaction. And Rob was like, "You got to build your brand." And I'm like, "In my brand Remax?" Rob was like, "Oh no, no, no." Rob was like, "No, your brand is not Remax." No, because I was brand new. 29 years ago, I was gonna go and kill it in something. I didn't know what I was gonna kill, but I'm gonna go and kill it, And then I went in with Rob and with Remax, and because I thought that was the place where I can go in first. And Rob was like, "No, you brand yourself." So then I'll brand Kim Ha, which is it was my maiden name at the time. And Kim Ha. When you think of real estate, you think Kim Ha. You think of real estate, I'm in billboard all over Middle Tennessee. When you come to Tennessee, you couldn't help but seeing my brand with my name because that's all I took. And now 30 years later, build your own brand. It's just now we're teaching. Like we've been talking about this.
It's funny you bring that up because before Remax, I was with Century 21 for 6 years. And I remember having a banner made up one time. No one knew what Century 21 was back in those days. And I had a banner put up and it said, when you think real estate, you will think Century 21. And when you think Century 21, you will think Tony Williams. Just bringing it down to my brand. And what that allowed me to do is when I joined Remax, I brought my brand with it,
That's
and
right.
then when I joined EXP, I brought my brand with it. And the good thing about EXP is they're pro brand, individual brand.
Oh yeah.
I had to be real careful when I was with Remax that it didn't look overwhelming with my logo. They didn't want my logo on a Remax logo. So but EXP is so good about letting teams bring their brand with them, bring their logo with them. Yeah.
Do you still have your gold jacket, Tony?
I had 8 of them. I don't have them anymore. I had 8 of them. I had every material made.
I got
gold
some gold shirts.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Do you remember that? You remember that guy that was a comedian that used to write in the Atlanta Journal? He died several years ago. He was from Moreland, Georgia. I can't think of his name right this second. But he came to a Century 21 thing one time. This is off subject, okay? He came to a Century 21 thing, and he's supposed to be the speaker, all right? And sure enough, he got there about 5 o'clock, and no one told him he was due to come on stage at 8 o'clock, okay? Well, there's this sea of gold coats out there, all right?
Yeah.
And he comes up at 8 o'clock, and he'd been to the bar for 3 hours. He'd been at the bar all this time. So he walks up there. I'll never forget it. I'm sitting there with my dad. And the first thing he says is, when in the world did gold polyester come in? Everybody's wearing gold polyester. All he saw was a sea of gold. He goes, what happened? Oh, man. Oh, man. He was a great guy. He's the guy that had the heart surgery that time, and wrote that book. They took it out and stomped that sucker flat. I wish I remember what his name was.
Yeah.
But, he was a comedian that used to write for the Atlanta Journal.
Interesting. Hey, Tony had his hand up for a second. Tony, you still there?
Dina Gusto. Unmute and talk, my friend.
Yes,
Yeah,
I was just going to
comment. I don't even know how to raise my hand.
Me either.
All you got to do is
know
go
where
down to
that
reactions. Go down to the reactions and you'll see it. You can find all sorts of fun things to use. If you want to, in fact, here, I'll give you a little show. Bam,
Okay.
ta-da.
That's cute.
So at the bottom, I see participants, chat. Okay, reactions. I got you. That's where it is in there. Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. All right. All right. I got it. That sounds good.
Yeah. So the third thing I would say, so number one, stop being loyal, being brokerage loyal, and number two, build your own brand. Number three, I would give a tip is, think of your business like an investor, not just a producer. Because when you think of an investor, you think of much more than just, hey, my next listing, my next buyer, my next seller. You got to think like a CEO, kind of like, I would say CEO, not so much an investor, but kind of investor, because you got to invest in your time and tap into a brand like an EXP brand with one of our global partners, so that way we can support you, help you scale all those levels. So that's why don't just think of a producer. Most agent right now still thinking of selling a couple home. Well, if that's what you do, that's all you're going to get out of it. You're not going to go bigger thinking of, because the more you think of on your business, how can I build a mini brokerage within that platform like EXP or whatever you're in right now, then you can truly grow not only your listing, your buyer, but your agent, like building a team, like we talked about earlier, Tony. Like we're like, let's get together and see how can we build a bigger team, because then we can service more client. And that is my number three. So think like an investor or a CEO. And four would be leverage this disruption right now to know that, hey, you're in the right place at the right time with what we have at the platform as like EXP. I'm so proud to be part of it. First 8 years ago when Rob and I talked about it, man, people were just like, oh no, this and that, Remax. Oh, why did you guys leave? You guys were number one Remax owner brokers. I'm like, we left because we see 10 years from now, it will not gonna be like this. And that's exactly what happened. And guess what? Now our prediction for the next, 5 to 10 years, if you don't make the changes right now, 5 to 10 years, you're gonna see all this company gonna merge into EXP again. It's just a matter of time. They're gonna merge into, they're gonna be a mega team and gonna come into EXP as part of it. And that's just at least my vision of where it's going.
Right. Well, and there's going to be a lot of consolidations, but they're going to go toward the virtual models out there. But not every company is good for everybody, right?
No.
But like I was talking to an agent this morning, and she says, "Well, I've been to different training classes. I had different coaches tell me what to do. I just won't do it. I don't know how to get my numbers up." I said, "You should probably join a team and let them feed you leads, and then you just go open doors. That's probably what you need. You need someone to tell you what to do, right?" And then there's some people that just want their own brokerage. They have their own brokerage. They have their own thing. That's fine. There's certain people out there that works for their situation. There's a lot of agents that do. I've had agents I've talked to that do 2 or 3 deals a year, and that's it. They need to be with a 100% company or one of these low fee companies, because that's the best fit for them, right? So everybody's going to fall into their own category of what they need, but the ones that are serious about their business are going to find the right fit. That's going to be the key.
That's right. That's right.
And
Exactly,
last but not least that I want to share is that
hold on. Tony was trying to say. Tony Justo was trying to say something.
I was just gonna, pair it on and say, partly what Kim was saying, partly you were saying, Rob, and partly what Tony was saying. You have to find the right fit for you,
Mm-hmm.
and not every brokerage is for everybody, but you have to invest the time in yourself, and you have to look at yourself as the CEO, because no one cares about you but you, meaning that you're the one that has to put the food on the table. You're the one that has to, make things happen for your life, and there's consequences and choices, and you just have to make the right one. And we can see it with what just happened with Spirit Airlines, which, I'm assuming we'll be seeing Spirit Halloween Airlines pop up soon, because that's how they do things, where, and it's unfortunate. JetBlue tried to buy him, and the government said no. So you have to look at things and see
Oh,
how can you make it work for you. And it's just a shame because sometimes people, they'll stay, whether it's at a job or whatever, for so long, be miserable, be treated like garbage, and then for some unexpected reason they'll get let go, and they're out there lost and wandering, going, what just happened? I've been so loyal. I've given everything for this company, and they don't give it back. So you have to brand yourself, make certain that everyone knows that, hey, this is the person I need to talk to, or if I'm in that room. And here's a couple other tips to help brand yourself. Go to fundraisers. People are spending the same amount of money as you are to get in there. Talk to everyone. Make them know, hey, you're the real estate person, and you can get into so much more and unlock so many more doors that you never thought possible. But just
right.
remember to keep branding yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good point.
Good
point.
call today. That's good.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
So yeah, I mean, right now people gotta align with the right platform. That's the bottom line. You know what I mean? Like with all these noises, if they're not aligning with the, like the technology, the community, and the financial upside, that's the other thing. So I always tell people, position yourself inside a platform that gives you a leverage beyond just closing those 1 to 2 deals. Because if you don't do that, there's consequences for it. So, the bottom line for my sharing my heart is that, real estate industry is entering into like an Amazon versus everyone else moment right now with all the things going on, right? The mega platforms are getting bigger, faster, and in the middle of getting crushed right now. So that's why I want everybody, but the agents and our entrepreneur, they build personal brand, multiple income stream, leverage technology to win, because the disruption is not a threat. It's just an invitation to grow, to get bigger, to like, hey, this is it. This is my chance. I'm not going to think of my 5 listing, 10 listing anymore. This is a chance for me to grow bigger. And I got the support. Now let's see, when do I want to get started? And that's when we come.
The other thing about all this, Rob, is everything's about timing now.
Mhm.
I would imagine there's some Remax agents that are getting bombarded with calls. Okay. Now's the time really to build good relationships.
Yeah.
Right.
Just take somebody to coffee and don't talk about EXP.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Just
Right.
build relationships. It will happen. It's going to happen.
Mhm.
And you want to be the one they call when it happens. That's what attraction's all about,
That's
You're
right.
absolutely right.
Building those relationships. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It
Hey, great call, guys. Looking forward to the spring and summer weather coming. It's coming. Love the sun shining, and look forward to next week and talking to you about what our next topic's coming up.
Awesome.
Good deal.
Well, have a great day, guys, and let's
Thanks,
go out
guys.
and changing lives.